And it's that time of year when we often hear of marine life, like dolphins and different whale species being stranded on beaches and water's edges in our region, which has some amazing high and low tides here, obviously. Yesterday, for instance, DFO, along with Marine Animal Response Society, helped free a pilot whale stuck in a riverbank near Sydney. To talk about that is joining us tonight. We've reached the executive director of MARS, Tonya Wimmer. She assisted in freeing this pilot whale. Tonya, how did the situation come about yesterday?
Oh, yeah, that was, it's a bit of a crazy situation. The pilot whale was a younger animal and found itself way back in the Sydney River, and it had been there for a day or so. And Fisheries and Oceans tried to sort of herd and corral it and encourage it to go back out the river, but that didn't work. So yesterday we were en route, aiming to get there and work with DFO. They were able to get their hands on it and put it into what's called a whale rescue pontoon. And then we worked together to take it as far out as we could and then released it.
It's incredible work you and your organization do, but I'm wondering, how often does something like this happen? It seems like recently it's been happening more and more around here.
Yeah, I mean, Mars is 26 years old now. We've started out a long time ago, and every year we get calls about animals that are in trouble on our shorelines or in rivers or entrapped in some other way. And so this is actually a fairly regular occurrence through the summer months. It just always depends on the when and the where and sort of the circumstances of what's going on as to the specifics of one animal versus many.
Yeah. Does it feel like it's happening more, or are we just maybe seeing about it more? People are documenting it, you know, as they see the stuff happening with their cell phones that we all have on ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, the other thing, too, is, this is part of the long-term research that we're actually doing is through the compilation of all of this information and looking at it over time, trying to see if there's any patterns or any upticks. And as you said, though, too, the other thing is we have more people out on water, on beaches, and they also have access to cameras in their phones and things like social media. So the word gets out pretty quick.
Yeah, and when we see those videos online, I mean, they're incredible. There was one earlier, I think it was earlier this week in Canning, Nova Scotia, where there was a group that came in to rescue a pod of dolphins, and I know you guys became involved in that, but talk about that situation, what you saw there.
Yeah, that one was particularly challenging because it was a group of, in the end, it was 13 Atlantic white-sided dolphins that found themselves way up one of the rivers at the back of the Minas Basin. And anyone who's in that area knows about those big tides in the Bay of Fundy. And especially in this area, it's an area that's really filled with sort of thick, soupy mud and a really deep incline down to where these dolphins were. And the dolphins had found themselves trapped as the tide went out. They were probably just following fish. There's a lot of fish and bait in the area. And they basically just got stuck in the mud. And so we got the report, we're en route, but even then, members of the public took it upon themselves to go into that really dangerous mud to try to be able to at least help the animals.
Some incredible images that we saw there as we're chatting. I wanted to ask you about how maybe some of these animals come to be stranded, but let's go back, because I know there's a lot of community members, and there's an effort there in the community to get out and perhaps save these this pod of dolphins, the 13 that you mentioned. But you know, when someone comes across stranded marine animals, say on maritime beaches, what should they do first?
The first thing they should do is call our toll-free hotline. So Mars operates a toll-free hotline. It's 1-866-567-6277. And if they call us immediately, we can really do an assessment based on the species, the location. Also, we have an understanding of what resources are around us, our own and with other partners like Fisheries and Oceans. And the big thing is really is if people do make that phone call, because the reality of what we're dealing with are animals that are in unpredictable situations, and sometimes they're also in very dangerous situations. So we just don't want people to put themselves in harm's way or do things that could really hurt the animal.
I wanted to ask you about that. People, you know, loving these amazing creatures, wanting to do the right thing, but how dangerous could it be for, say, someone who doesn't have the proper training and gets themselves into these waters or in these, you know, muddy shorelines? You know, should people be doing this kind of stuff in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, this is really one of the issues that Mars has been grappling with for many years. And you know, the reality is that it is extremely dangerous for people. Both those circumstances, that mud is incredibly dangerous. People are up to their waists, some up even higher. Yeah. You can get stuck. The tide is turning. You know, we've had people even earlier this week as well. We're pushing back in a very large animal down by Guysborough. It was a big whale, and the animal starts thrashing. So the big thing here is that there are dangerous circumstances for the humans if they're not prepared and if they're not properly trained and equipped equipped. And then it can be very dangerous for animals if people do things like pulling on their tail or putting water in the blowhole.
Yeah,
So
sure.
one of the things we've been trying to do for a long time has actually been to build up our volunteer network across the Maritime provinces. And that's to make sure that people are educated and trained. And it's unfortunately something we've been trying to get funding for a long time from our federal government, and it's been turned down to date.
Do we know, I mean, there's so many different waterways and scenarios, but Tonya, do we know what leads to some of these mammals becoming trapped in the first place? Are they getting lost or confused, or maybe are they sick at times?
It's a little bit of all of those, and it differs between the different situations. With the dolphins, we saw it was very likely animals that were following food, and there were fish, they eat fish too, so they were just going up following it, got caught out when the tide went down. In other circumstances, like the whale that we had earlier this week over in Guysborough, it was a very large whale, kind of an unusual area for it to be in, and it was quite thin. Our little pilot whale in Cape Breton that we helped release yesterday, we're not quite sure. It was a smaller animal, could have gotten distracted and separated from the pod, or maybe it was ill. So it's a combination of potentially anything at that point.
Right. Yeah, well, we love to hear the stories when the rescues go well, and I know it's dangerous but incredible work you do, and we love following along, but we'll have to kind of wrap our conversation up now for time, Tonya, but I want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate the time.
And have a safe summer. That's Tonya Wimmer. She's the Executive Director of the Marine Animal Response Society. We've got plenty of more news on the other side of this break. Stay with us.